Hello and welcome to Deep Sea. This is the channel for innovative cartomancy and astrology. And today we are going to talk about digital money and more specifically Bitcoin. And when you think about astrology and Bitcoin, there's all kinds of things you can do. You can look at certain charts, but what you can also do, and what a lot of people don't know, is that you can use asteroids to zoom in a little more on the information that is available. There's definitely quite a lot of information you can get from the significator asteroids that represent Bitcoin in a chart. There's 3 of them. They're called Bitias, Bittner and Bittesini. They all start with bit, and that is like the association that is needed for these asteroids to do their magic work, so to speak. So these 3 asteroids are the main focus of this video. I'll show the discovery charts and also some example charts where you can see how they work. But first, a few disclaimers. I'm not an economist, I'm not a financial advisor, and also I am not a trader. So while I'm interested in financial astrology, I don't use it as a day trader, or I do buy and sell at certain moments that I think are strategic, but you cannot think of me as a trader, so keep that in mind. Also, I'm not going to give you specific tools for improving your price prediction game, if that's what you're interested in. So I don't think that is the main use of asteroids in the case of Bitcoin. I want to start positively with these 3 cards that you see here, because I just asked the cards. I didn't ask anything. I just threw 3 cards on the table for this video, as I like to do, and these 3 is what appeared. You see a very meditative face here that is repeated here, and then you see a lot of people. And personally, I think of this, first of all, I like this visual rhyme. That's always a sign that there is, that there's coherence in the cards that you get. And what I see here is the adoption curve of Bitcoin, very simply. So maybe the first 10 years, and then the phase that we are in right now. And then what the cards seem to be saying here is that there will be mass adoption for Bitcoin. So positive, and all the more reason to watch this video, I would say. I want to explain why I like financial astrology, because you might think, well, there are so many nice types of astrology. You could do Egyptian, you could do Sumerian, you could do Hellenistic, you could do Yotish, you could do medieval, you can do Uranian, you can do all kinds of astrology. Why financial astrology? Well, I think it's I think it's the state of mind that comes with the territory of the actual traders. I mean, you have to think critically, otherwise you will lose all your money. And thinking critically is what I think is what separates, well, you cannot say nowadays, what separates the boys from the men. That's illegal to talk like that nowadays, but you know what I mean. It's if you cannot think critically and you start throwing money at the market using astrological techniques, you will be broke in a few hours, days or weeks. You will lose all your money. And the traders who don't lose their money, the traders who stay in the game and who make money, they have the ability to think critically and to combine certain techniques, and these techniques could be as old as Egyptian astrology. There's a guy on Twitter who uses the terms Egyptian technique. There are people who use planetary hours. There are people who use all kinds of ancient techniques, but they also combine them with other techniques. And what you see with good financial astrologers is that they never religiously believe in one thing and one thing only, because they know that is the fastest way to lose your money. And I mean, that is exactly what I like in, I think each astrologer should have that state of mind, that attitude of thinking critically and not thinking that you have the truth just because you have adopted some kind of astrological technique. That's just not how it works. You always see that the financial astrologer is looking for a kind of confluence. So they look for various signs, various confirmations of their thesis, so to speak. And when there is a confluence, they are still very careful, but then they get some more trust in their theories, and they buy and sell accordingly. So that's what I like about financial astrology. And the same thing goes for, I mean, one of the astrologers that I respect the most is Richard Tarnas, who is definitely not a financial astrologer, but he's a man who had a lot of philosophical training and read a lot of books, and that's how he got into critical thinking. You know, it's just this critical thinking that makes the difference. And that's if you don't have that, you're playing a losing game in financial astrology. So the scope of financial astrology is very, very broad. Like I said, astrological technical analysis goes back to ancient Babylon. In fact, you know, the stuff that they wrote on the clay tablets. There's a market information, you know, how much grain is there and so on, and how much does it cost, and this is also related to astrological factors back in Babylon or Mesopotamia, or however you want to call it. Back then, people were already doing technical analysis in a very rudimentary way, and combining that with astrology. So it is a very ancient art, or yeah, how do you want to call it? The other things that financial astrologers do is look very detailed at planetary cycles, in long-term synodic cycles of the bigger planets, and short-term, and they dissect these cycles and see what other info they can find from it. And then there's Gan theory, which is also very interesting, and it is a completely different way of looking at the sky. It is I think I would call it numerological, in the sense that you convert a longitude, an angle. It's longitude in degrees. You convert those degrees to currency, so to speak, to dollars, or and that is also a part of asteroid astrology, and it's the more mysterious part. And another important part is the use of Fibonacci numbers. And finally, what I also really like about financial astrology is that a lot of it is data driven. People use words like backtesting all the time. Like when you have an idea, a financial idea, or an investment idea, or a trade idea, you don't just go ahead and do it, but you check the history, you check old charts, you check data that is available, and you might even analyze it with AI or with other modern tools. And that is very close to a scientific approach of astrology, which is also something I'm very interested in. So all in all, I just wanted to say that I might not be a trader, but because of the way of thinking that is required of a good trader who uses astrological techniques, the critical thinking that is required, that is exactly the reason why I'm interested in financial astrology. One of the problems with asteroid astrology, and also one of the reasons why it's not so popular, is that there are 10,000 of asteroids. Actually, there are many more, but over 20,000 have a name right now, which makes them easier to handle. And because you have so many asteroids, you can always think of a theory based on asteroid placements and say, well, I think this and this is going to happen to that and that market. But it's very easy to find another bunch of asteroids that will say exactly the opposite. So there are just too many asteroids to make one coherent story that is compelling, so to speak. Asteroids are not compelling. They are only giving you extra information in certain use cases. To paint a picture of how many asteroids there are, I want to give you some examples. And first, I want to look at specifically you could say the name asteroids for Bitcoin. If you've seen my previous videos, you know I always start with name asteroids because they are the concept is very simple. And in the case of Bitcoin, you can really see how this association works, how this association of a certain name with the idea of Bitcoin, how that association is made. And it is made with three letters, a B, a Y, and a T. Because if you would look at, let's say, an astrological list of all asteroids that have a name, you only find these three asteroids that have a name that starts with Bit. And somehow that is enough in the big sky to create this association between Bitcoin and these names or these asteroids, or however you want to look at it. I mean, in the end, it's just a piece of rock going around the sun, but there is this metaphysical connection. And for, like I said, there are three for Bitcoin, and with every modern thing, and modern, when I say modern, I mean after Galileo invented his telescope. So with every modern object, starting with Uranus and then up to all the asteroids that we have now, there's always a discovery chart. And discovery chart is the main thing that I will be going into in this video. And why will I do that? Because, well, I'm telling you that there are three asteroids that are related to Bitcoin. Well, you might say, how do you know? Show me the money. Well, I can show you two things. I can show you charts that have that for important moments, like for example, Pizza Day, the day that the first time someone made a transaction with Bitcoin. Another important one might be the Genesis block, the first the day that the Bitcoin blockchain was started up, so to speak. And you have other great moments in the history of Bitcoin, like for example 2 years ago when Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, said that his country would adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. That was, at that moment, that was a breakthrough. So we can look at those charts and see how these three asteroids behave. And we can also look at the discovery charts and see what the individual differences between these three are. And I'm going to give you a very, very simple characterization. So Bitias, I always call that painful struggle. Bittesini is the most aggressive one of the three. And Bittner always reminds me of, this is for old people, you might know the A-Team with Hannibal Smith, the guy who smokes cigars and who has this famous quote, "I love it when a plan comes together." And that is, of course, you know, the way Satoshi Nakamoto came up with his plan. He was a long-term thinking guy, and he thought of something that was so solid that it could have a long incubation time, and then finally this plan would come together. And there is some of that in the discovery chart of asteroid Bittner, and I'll show you that in this video. So there are two more important asteroids for Bitcoin. One is a Damocleid, that is a very distant object, discovered in 2008, and it's got the number SO218. And this Damocleid is very generally related to digital currencies, to anything that has to do with digitization of money, you could say. And it is not so, it's not a Bitcoin asteroid, it's more like a crypto or digital currency asteroid. It could be about CBDCs and other kinds of stuff. And then there's Coin, which is a bit more, is also a general, but I think it is more specifically related to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. There's more stuff like this. If you say, well, I'm interested in Bitcoin, but my real thing is gold. There's also gold asteroids, silver asteroids. I mean, there's asteroids for Tesla, for Apple, you name it. They're all there. Here's a few obvious ones for gold. Aurelia refers to the Latin word for gold. And then you have loads of diamonds with, what am I saying? Loads of asteroids with the name gold in it. Really too many to mention. I just mentioned the most important ones. Oro is just a reminder that asteroids are not only in English language, also Spanish. Of course, also Goldberger and Goldhaber there is also German. You have silver and much more. Then there are very specific asteroids that have to do with trade and also with crypto lingo, let's put it like that. So when you think about trade, there's I have a lot of names here. The top row is about big finance, you could say. Banks is just about banks. Whalen is about a phenomenon from the crypto world known as whales, which is just people with very large pockets. DeFi is literally decentralized finances. There's literally an asteroid for that called DeFi. Weimar is it's associated with inflation. Specula is associated with speculation. And then the next row we have Wikrota, Wigberg, Wigrent. These are related to Wyckoff distribution. This is a subject that not everybody will be familiar with, but think of it as manipulation of markets, and that's also something that these whales might be doing. Hack and Hackle is all about people who try to literally hack into blockchains. It's really a big problem. You see it all the time happening in DeFi. It also happened to Bitcoin. Bitcoin was also hacked. I'll give you an example of that. Then wrecked man is wrecked is just a term for traders who lose their money. And default, same thing. Augeias and Kakas is very, very funny. Augeias is a character from Greek mythology who is related to shit, and Kakas is also related to shit, and these two asteroids can be used to track shitcoins, believe it or not. It really works very well. Then we have Satoshi Nakamoto. There are lots of asteroids that sound a little bit like Sats, Satoshi, Naka, this, Naka, that. And they all work more or less, but they are not really that functional. They're just there. It's like decoration almost. I don't get a lot of information from them. Then we have a very technical asteroids related to Bitcoin. You might know the term hash rate. If you don't, look it up. You really should know what it is. as you should know what a blockchain is, well, for these technical terms there are asteroids. Blockchain is the word that is closest to chain. These things all work. Then some more general ones. Ursa and standing bear is related a little bit to the concept of a bear market. Not very strong, but a little bit. A Toro is generally a very potent asteroid, and it can be a bull significator, bull market significator. Turn bull is a bit ambiguous. I mean, it might indicate a swing, or a swing in a bullish direction. Should be what it significates, but you have to be careful with these. And then finally here on this list are some Varuna Crescentia, Midas, Rockefeller. They're all about growth and loads of money. And then there are some more general asteroids that you could think of using. One concept that is important is stability and instability. It's generally speaking, is a very important concept, but it's also important when you think of finance and investment and so on. So you see a few examples here of asteroids related to instability, risk. Damocles is like uncertainty. Constantia is the opposite. Constantia is actually also a word associated with the blockchain. The idea of every 10 minutes a new block is being mined. You have also general asteroids related to anything that has to do with growth and decay, or harvesting even. I didn't put this here, but harvest is also, these agricultural parallels, they work very well. Ceres, I could have added Ceres here as well. I could even have added Juno, but you have to stop somewhere. And then maybe one of the most important categories is these literal name asteroids for certain commodities, companies, funds, or coins. Gold and silver are excellent examples. Tesla, I don't know why everybody is interested in Tesla in the stock, but no one is looking at the asteroid Tesla. It amazes me. Cardano is one. Ripple for XRP. These are all these are interesting asteroids if you are trading that commodity. If you're trading that company, you really should take a look at the asteroids that are related to it. I want to repeat very quickly the most important use cases of asteroids in financial astrology. And in my opinion, the number one use case is when you have various candidates for a official birth chart of a product, of a company, of whatever it is that you want to make a birth chart of. Check the asteroids. Always do it. They will give you a lot of information, especially in birth charts, because a birth chart is a long-term thing. It is not like is the price going up or down or sideways in the next 10 minutes. No, it's a long-term thing. And asteroids are very reliable extra information there. I can actually give you a good example. I'm not making this stuff up. I can give you a good example of someone on Twitter, Margot Amala, who is, I think, someone who knows what she's doing. And she had a question about XRP. She had various candidate dates, so to speak, for a birth chart of XRP. And she said, hey guys, can you help me? Which date looks best to you? And using the asteroids for Ripple, for XRP, which are very easy to spot, you see within 2 minutes you see the difference between the various dates that Margot was proposing, and I could immediately say to her with a high confidence that one date had the best characteristics. That was, let me check, the 1st of January. Well, I'll show it. Another use case that you should really try is analysis of important events, and that's also what I'm going to show you in this video, because I'm going to look at a few important days for Bitcoin, like the infamous Pizza Day. It sounds silly maybe, but it's very revealing what happened on Pizza Day actually in the sky. So events, just check the asteroids. Always do it. Would be my advice. And then finally, this is a thing that I don't know that much about, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think you can do backtesting. Actually, I saw another person who I follow on Twitter give a decent example of this, but not so much with Bitcoin, but with gold, with using the asteroid gold to backtest the price performance of gold. I think you can try it, but no guarantees from me. I think there are possibilities to use AI and bigger amounts of asteroids, but that's a bit speculative. I have not found anyone yet who would try such a thing in practice. So if you're interested, contact me and we can think of something. Okay, now it's time for me to put my money where my mouth is and to show you some asteroid action. I want to show you the birth chart or the natal chart of Bitcoin. The date is generally thought to be the 3rd of January 2009, and the occasion is the Genesis block. It's a very Christian metaphor there for the idea that the Bitcoin blockchain is started up. The first blocks are being produced on this day, the 3rd January of 2009, all being mined by Satoshi Nakamoto himself. Let's look at the sun first. The sun is, by the way, in Sagittarius, which is sidereal. Personally, think I like sidereal much more than tropical, and I think it's very to the point that the sun would be in Sagittarius for Bitcoin. Aurelia is a gold asteroid, so there's a bit of a reference there to digital gold. But more importantly, the sun of Rubicon is conjunct the sun, and Rubicon refers to Julius Caesar crossing the river Rubicon, which is has the idea of a move or a decision that cannot be undone, that you cannot walk back. So a definitive step, that is Rubicon. Then next to the Sun we have the Mars-Pluto conjunction, which is very aggressive, and I would characterize it as a central banks killer. Think of that what you want, but that's my idea about Bitcoin in general. Central banks killer, which is in line with Satoshi Nakamoto's philosophy, of course. And we see the victim right conjunct Mars. Banks are history as far as Bitcoin is concerned, and coin is also well placed there, right in the middle of the Mars and Pluto conjunction. I should say something about the colors, by the way. Sorry. Coin, and you see here Bittesini, for example. The pink color refers to the most important asteroids for Bitcoin. The blue ones, like here Chai-Ka, which is referring to chain, and Haswell, which is referring to hash rate. These are the more technical aspects of Bitcoin, under the hood. And then green asteroids have to do with market manipulation, and the reason why this wick rent or wick rota, why you see this WYK, that is a reference to the Wyckoff distribution. And if you don't know that, just forget it, but people who know it, they know. I want to zoom in now on the 3 named asteroids of Bitcoin, and the number 1, maybe my favorite, definitely the most aggressive one, is Bittesini. And this aggressive character, we will see it in the discovery chart of Bittesini, but in the birth chart of Bitcoin, this conjunction with Nessus says everything, because Nessus is a very strong, very potent centaur, and if you condense it into one meaning, it is about invasion. And in this case, in an invasion of the system of the central banks. Look here, just a quick look at this one. Is more an agricultural idea of harvest. Constantia is the idea of the chain, the blockchain, pumping out blocks every 10 minutes. Here is chain, it's very close to Mercury. Vikrent exactly conjunct Jupiter, so this is saying something about a huge manipulation of the markets. More like the reason why Bitcoin started than anything else. Here we have Bittner. And Bittner is the one that reminds me personally of Hannibal Smith, the guy from the A-Team. And the quote, "I love it when a plan comes together." The important thing here is the Plutinos. And for this I go back to the famous big book by Benjamin Adema. If you've seen my previous videos, you will know by now what that means. Every time I talk about an asteroid that only has a number and not an official name, I look at Benjamin Adema's book for the meanings, and in this case, what does he say? Plutino 1998WU31 is about autonomy, liberation, or even more to the point, striving for autonomy. And the other Plutino next to it has actually, according to Benjamin Adema, almost the same meaning, which is quite rare, but these two are really cousins. But Benjamin Adema says the second one, number 24 here, has a bit more emphasis on manipulation, intimidation, and breaking out. So very to the point, all that, if you look at the general idea behind Bitcoin. Weimar is the number 1 asteroid that I have found personally indicating inflation. And we have Chaos. Chaos reminds me a bit of what I said here about Vikrent conjunct Jupiter. I mean, what you see here is that Bittner is and Bittesini also are in this huge struggle to overcome an enormous chaos and market manipulation leading to inflation. That's more or less the story that you can take that you can make of this. Whalen is well, a whale is really Bitcoin lingo or cryptocurrency lingo, and it is exactly opposite Pluto, which is again saying that these people with the very deep pockets are the target of Bitcoin. Very to the point. Here we have the more general Damocleid pointing to cryptocurrencies more in a general sense. And it is conjunct an SDO here. I have to look up my notes. And Benjamin Adema says about this SDO that it is about revolutionary deeds, which is very cute. Revolutionary deeds. How about that? I really like the sound of that. And then we have the Homoyed here as well. And according to Benjamin Adema, again, this one signifies a breakthrough or a new phase, which is very to the point when you talk about the first new blocks of a completely new type of money, a revolutionary new thing. And that new phase is, of course, also reminiscent of this idea, the Rubicon, the first step, and no way back. The least spectacular placement of Bitcoin asteroid in this chart is for Bitias. It has some moderately interesting conjunctions with asteroids here. This one, Retina, can stand for silver. Reasoner is about doing smart stuff, and Eureka is, of course, about invention and the moment of invention, which is not quite accurate, but you can make the case that there is a relevant connection here. Bittesini is quintiling Bitias. We have Mercury sextiling it, and we also have a little square there to Sats, which is not that important. And finally, another quintile to Hasberger, which is another hash rate significator. One of the technical ones, just like block, all these blue ones. Final remark. I was thinking of the idea of Genesis. In the beginning was the word, and there's no asteroid called Genesis, but you can look at Logos, and while it's not that important, maybe it's not important at all. Think of it as a joke. It's time now to take a closer look at the three most important Bitcoin asteroids. Again, Bitias, Bittesini and Bittner, all starting with Bit. And then we have the more general coin here, and also the more general Damocleid. But right now we will take a look at Bitias. What you're seeing here is the discovery chart of Bitias. NASA and all the other observatories find new asteroids every day, and of course they write down the date when they spot a new asteroid. And on the 13th of October 1988, some astrologers will have noticed it already because of this conjunction here, Bitias was discovered, and the easiest way to immediately zoom in on let's say the fingerprint or the meaning of Bitias is to just look at the place of Bitias itself, and to zoom in on that spot and look at the asteroids that you find there. And once again, the catch here is nameless asteroids. So Benjamin Adema is again a great big help here. Without his work, I would not be able to do this at all. So big thank you to Benjamin Adema. What can he tell us about the location of Bitias in its own discovery chart, and what that might be saying about the character of this asteroid? Let's start with the Plutino 2002 VE95. That Benjamin Adema says is about penetrating the negative, and also this idea of creative destruction, you know, that certain economists talk about. The other Plutino 1969 96 and TQ66 is associated by Benjamin with negativity, drama, which is I think is important, lack of power, and also an important one, deep frustration. I think these negative emotions that come with the large project of Bitcoin, and all these people that are against it, banks, governments, you name it, the people who are in power right now, you could say, the elite, whatever you want to call it, they try to stop Bitcoin in every way they can, and this gives the feeling of frustration. So I think that feeling, that sentiment is very much connected to Bitias. That SDO finally is, Benjamin Adema says, they're extreme purging or cleaning. So it's really the stuff that, it's, by the way, exactly the same as this destructive creativity of the other Plutino. So a double whammy there. It's all about the stuff that has to get cleared out of the way before Bitcoin can take over, so to speak. At least that is the idea. And the frustration that comes with it, the negative emotions that come with it. So that's why I generally look at Bitias as the Bitcoin asteroid of the painful struggle. Now, when you think of drama and negative emotions and frustration in the history of Bitcoin, perhaps the Mt. Gox debacle is the number one incident that Bitcoiners would prefer to forget. It was, I have a date here, the 13th of June 2011, when the exchange called Mt. Gox was raided. 25,000 BTC were stolen on that day, and a lot of other unpleasant things happened after that. And what I want to show you with this chart for the Mt. Gox theft is that this painful frustration that I connect to the asteroid Bitias, that this chart would be a good example of that. And here we have Bitias. Here's Bittner. You can immediately see that I didn't find any activation of Bittner. And again, this is the most positive one. Bittesini is heavily aspected. It is trining Uranus, and Uranus is also trining Hek and is opposite Venus, so that is a wonderful trajectory there that's telling a whole story. We also have a Haeckel here sextiling Saturn, and so on and so forth. But anyway, Bittesini, it is doing some stuff. But if we go to Bitias, that is, in my opinion, where the most clear action is happening. Once again, we have to ask some help from our friend Benjamin Adema for this Plutino here, 2003 QH91. And what is Benjamin saying? He says here, this signifies to break into a locked system. Wow, that's right on the money. That's exactly correct. And then we have Nessus here, and I told you already, this is a very important, very potent centaur. It works for Bitcoin, but it also works against Bitcoin. It works for Bitcoin in the sense of penetrating the system of central banks, but it works against Bitcoin in the case of hackers trying to steal your Bitcoin. So Nessus is in that sense a double-edged sword, but also very important in general. So you could say that, especially with this Plutino, which is spot on, and also with Nessus in the neighborhood, this is a strong activation, and it goes on because there is this axis here, axis with Mt. Lock. Now, what could that signify? Mt. Gox, maybe? Who you never know. Coin is a conjunction here, and also we have a square from Bitias to Mars, which is also important. Furthermore, when we look at Nessus, and Nessus is trining Mercury, and Damocles here is trining the Sun. And always good to look at the Sun, so let's zoom in there for a moment. We find Prey at conjunct Mercury, and then we have a cube again. So let's see what Benjamin Adema says about this one. Abuse of control systems and sudden death. That's again spot on. Speculation, technical term for blockchain, for hash rate. Some stuff that I thought might be related, but the core, the hardcore of the story is this bunch of asteroids, and then the opposition to coin and Mount Lock here. And I would say that Bitias of the three Bitcoin asteroids is most prominent in the case of the theft at Mount Gox. I have another chart here of an event that is full of drama and disappointment and frustration and so on. It is about the collapse of FTX, and the date is the 9th of November 2022, and that was the day that there was this Twitter feud between CZ from Binance and how is it called? SBF of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX. Basically, CZ was saying, your company stinks. I'm not going to invest. I'm not going to save you. You're on your own. And this is the chart for that moment. Let's take a very quick look. We see here we see the Sun conjunct Mercury opposite Uranus. Note quite in the neighborhood there, and also banks conjunct Uranus. So that's a general indication of that there might be some stuff happening. What I also have to say is that Bittner, Bitias, and Bittesini, they are of course related to the destiny, so to speak, of Bitcoin, but in a more general sense, they also have a lot to say about what happens to the altcoins or shitcoins, or however you want to call them in general. Just look at the price action. If Bitcoin goes up, most of the time other coins also go up, and vice versa. So there's a strong connection. So you might say FTX is not a Bitcoin problem. Well, that's true. Bitcoin will always have volatility and so on, but there is a relation. And more to the point, I think that the collapse of FTX, there is some resonance with the theft at Mt. Gox. It's about exchanges that cannot be trusted, let's put it like that. So my idea for this chart is to look at the position of Bitias and to see if we can find again that theme of frustration and so on, painful struggle, if we can find something of that here, or more generally if Bitias would be the most strongly aspected Bitcoin asteroid on this date. And well, again, my theory is not waterproof, because Bittesini is also again strongly aspected. It is trine Pluto, so Bittesini definitely doing some stuff, also squaring the center of the galaxy here. But if we look at Bitias, a bit like the last one, there is well, there's nothing conjunct Bitias. There's also nothing conjunct Bittner, by the way. It is trining, Bittner is trining Mars, but if we look at Bitias, there's a bit more story there, and specifically if you look at this opposition. I mean, if an asteroid is strong in a chart, there's a few ways it can be strong. One is that in a case where there would be a lot of stuff happening around Bitias, that would zoom in and we get 5 or more important asteroids surrounding Bitias. That would be a sign of activation. But another sign that an asteroid is influential in a chart is by looking at the aspects it makes, of course. But in the case of Bitias in this chart, what I did was I said, okay, I cannot find a lot of stuff, but I'm assuming that Bitias is important in this chart, and therefore I will simply look at the point of opposition, which is here, and then I will see what I can find there. And if that is relevant, then that must mean that Bitias is also important in this chart. So I look at the degree, it's 15.49 Sagittarius, so I go to the opposite place, and what do I find there? It's very funny to me. I find Vesuvius and Augeias. And if you remember, Augeias was this person from Greek mythology who had to do with shit. And if you combine shit with Vesuvius, which is a quite potent asteroid, if you try to picture this mentally in a visual way, shit and a volcano that is erupting, I mean, what you get more or less is the wonderful American manner of speech way of saying things is the shit hits the fan. That's really literally what happens here. And you're talking, of course, about shit coins as well. Augeias is also a significator for shit coins. So that is for me a reason to say, yeah, Bitias is important here. And we have a trine to the whales, we have a sextile to market manipulation, we have a quintile to Neptune, so there's some planetary involvement as well. I think Bitias is important here. You're looking at the discovery chart for Bittesini, which is right here. And funny enough, we find Bittner conjunct Bittesini, but this chart really is about this one here, this piece of rock that was discovered on the 8th of June in 1969. And on the day it was discovered, it was conjunct its fellow Bitcoin asteroid Bittner, but more importantly, it was also conjunct Bomben, which means bomb, explosion, and Mars, which is of course the aggressive one. Pluto also quintiling this conjunction, so what you get is a lot of aggression, but also, funny enough, a lot of family ties, because the relation between Bittner and Bittesini is how do you say, is underlined here. Coin is trining them, and Bitias is quintiling the Damocleid. So there is some Bitcoin in the air here. I think there's not a lot more to say here, except for the simple fact that the aggressiveness that we find in the birth chart of Bitcoin itself, that aggressiveness is coming from, if you remember, from a conjunction of Mars and Pluto. And well, Mars is obviously very important here, and Pluto is also playing its role. So aggression, kill the central banks. That's the mission of Bittesini. And now we come to my favorite chart of this video, which is the chart of Pizza Day. On the 22nd of May in 2010, a guy with a difficult to pronounce name ordered a pizza via some bulletin board and paid 10,000 Bitcoin for it. It is an example of a important Bittesini placement, and you are right if you cannot find it because it's hiding. There it is. Bittesini is conjunct the sun. Well, that's easy, isn't it? Doesn't get more important than that. Quick look at the other ones. Bitias here is making quite a few aspects, but to be honest, that is only because I put so many of these asteroids in it that are not, only a few of them are important. Here some more stuff going on, a bit close to Saturn, but I mean, it's very easy. Bittesini wins this one. It is conjunct the sun. A quick look at all those other colored asteroids. Pizza. Well, there is no asteroid Pizza, but there are quite a few asteroids that have a shape, a form that is not unlike Pizza, that is reminiscent of Pizza, or could be associated with Pizza. So we have Pizarro, Pizzetti, Pizzarello, Piazzola. Come on, Pizzolato and Piazza, and if you check it out, they're all aspecting stuff. So there is really a lot of pizza in this. It's an important day for pizza in general, you could say, if that makes any sense. I mean, as you can see here, they're all aspecting stuff. Another aspect, oh yeah, and of course we have hamburger, because that is how our universe operates. You don't get this type of fast food, no, you get this type of fast food as well. But there's two things, of course. There's the pizza, and then there is the transaction, which is, yeah, arguably even more important. The guy just wanted a pizza, but he could have ordered a hamburger as well. The point is that he paid with Bitcoin. That is the seminal, is that the right word, thing that happens here. It's very important. It is the first transaction ever, and I mean, that thing has to happen, otherwise Bitcoin doesn't happen. So it really needs that aggressive Aries Mars penetrating energy, and that you find with Bittesini. So I think it's in that sense it makes sense. But let's take a closer look at the idea of transaction, and then we'll have a few for that. We have Hansa, which is generally about trade. Enterprise is about trade. Mercator, which is about a trader. Mercado, market, and again, these are all aspected. I'm not going to give you the full details, but trust me, they're all aspected. And my favorite one, I really love this. I mean, my favorite moment is always when I look at an asteroid and I immediately know what it means without ever having looked at it before. And this time it was gut bezahlt. Now you have to know a little bit of German to understand what this means, but if you are German, you've already got the clue. Gut means good, and bezahl means to pay. So what gut bezahlt literally means is well paid, or paid in a proper way, or something like that. A good transaction, you could put it like that. So we have, this is so incredible. We have a proper transaction and Bittesini, and also enterprise for that matter, together with some fast food and a pizza in the neighborhood, all around the sun. I think this is wonderful. I think this is what makes asteroid astrology a lot of fun. Here's another example of the effect of Bittesini. It's not the most convincing one, but it's, I think, for a couple of reasons it's interesting. I doubted about what I wanted to show you for Bittesini, because actually it is the only one that is also, I think, useful for looking at price. So if you want to look at a drop in price or a strong pump, you might look at Bittesini. But what you're looking at here is something entirely different, but also interesting. It is the 29th of March 2021, and on this day, Visa, the people behind the credit card, Visa, they said they would start settling transactions with crypto partners in USDC, the stablecoin USDC, on the Ethereum blockchain. And wow, that's a lot of crypto lingo, but what it basically says is that Visa, which is old money, old banking, was using blockchain technology, and in that sense, it was a breakthrough. Now, you can look at Bittner. It's not doing a lot. Coin is not doing a lot. Bitias is in fact trining the sun, so it is yeah, Chiron, but also the sun, because here, look, they are close. Again, this is an example of how the Bitcoin asteroids are relevant for the whole ecosystem. This one, for example, is really an ETH asteroid. Where you go here, and you see that it is conjunct Bittesini and it is conjunct Uranus, which is a whole story by itself. But of course, we have our friend Benjamin Adema, who will add some extra spice to this story. And what does that cube tell us? It is about building bridges. Well, that is exactly what is happening here. So once again, a score for Benjamin. He connects it with building bridges and also with emancipation. Ter is a general asteroid that is linked to karma. Make of that what you want. What I wanted to show you as well in this chart is asteroid DeFi, because it's very funny, you know, having an asteroid that is literally called DeFi, or decentralized finance, and it is conjunct the sun in this one. And we also have another SDO here, so let's quickly see what Benjamin makes of that. He says creative engineering aimed at future developments, which is another nice way of saying, you know, Visa using the Ethereum blockchain and stable coins is two different types of technologies, of course. Building bridges, new technology aimed at the long term. I kind of like this. There's some more stuff going on. I put Cardano in because Visa, they make cards, you know, so Cardano is not doing that much. I thought this might be a significator for Visa. It's not doing that much either. It's a relatively important event, you could say. I mean, I remember when it happened that people really took notice. And what you see is that Bittesini is the central Bitcoin asteroid here. You could also say that it is in its meaning that it is close to the meaning of Bittner, meaning I love it when a plan comes together. There is definitely something of that here as well, but just wanted to show you the chart. What you're looking at is the final discovery chart. It is for Bittner, a bit difficult to spot, but here it is, Bittner. First thing maybe you should notice is its position relative to the sun. It is opposite the sun. A quick look at the sun. We find here Kuaoar, difficult to pronounce but very important. It is about networks. More importantly about this, you know, high tech networks and communication. That is what it represents. We also see meta here. Keep that in mind. Meta is about, going to a higher level. So higher level networking, communication, sun. Here's hash rate significator, and right opposite the sun, with its network quality, is Bittner. And again, this is the discovery chart for this little rock. And when was it discovered? That was on the 15th of November 1987. And first thing to notice maybe is ethol here. That is the second ETH significator that we encounter today. Also Viper, Vipera, Viper is quite aggressive. But the reason why I came to this whole idea of Hannibal Smith, I love it when the plan comes together. Reason for that is, again, thanks to our friend Benjamin. He has meanings for these two unnamed asteroids that put the picture together. First, that Centaur 2007 DU11 is about a converging synergy. He says, a great end result after years of preparing, a unique destination, a great victory, a climax, apotheosis. Want me to repeat that? Converging synergy, a great end result after years of preparing, a unique destination, a great victory, a climax, and apotheosis. Wow, that's quite something, and that's what I mean with I love it when a plan comes together. The Neptune resonant here is not as festive, not as explicit, but it still points to the same direction. It is, according to Benjamin, about transcending polarities and dualism, and that is a duplication, you could say, of this one, meta here. So it's about transcending to a higher level, overcoming a certain type of dualism. And what I read into this, it's of course interpretation, is at least an acceptance on a broader scale of the whole plan that Satoshi came up with. I'm not saying that this is about world domination of Bitcoin, not at all. Bitcoin as a world reserve currency, I don't know. That's not necessarily the end goal of this store of value, as it's called. But what you could say at least is a serious level of adoption. I mean, I'll show you the cards again that I pulled for this video. Think of that stadium full of people. I mean, that's what this smells like, and that's basically the whole thing. I think Kuawa is really important here. You should know this asteroid if you're into asteroid astrology. Communication networks. I mean, it's the whole digital infrastructure that is needed for Bitcoin coming into place, is what you read into that. And the idea of Bittner being opposite the sun is the whole idea of ambition, of trying to get there, trying to get where the sun is right now. So, very clear chart in my opinion. And now I will show you two examples of charts that have this quality that they pull in parties from the outside into the Bitcoin ecosystem, that these parties are needed to make it a success. On the 6th of June in 2021, there was a Bitcoin conference, and during this conference there was an announcement made by Nayib Bukele, the what is he, a president? I think he's a president, yes. Also a bit of a dictator of the country of El Salvador. And he had some fabulous plans for a Bitcoin city that he wanted to start building. I don't know if that's going to work, But more importantly, he announced that his country would accept Bitcoin as legal tender, and this is a very important precedent. There have been other countries after that, Central Africa, a few more, I'm not sure which ones exactly. But anyway, this was like the first domino stone in the game where countries say, nations say, Bitcoin is cool. I like Bitcoin. Come to my country, bring your Bitcoin, and let's do business. That's basically what Nayib Bukele was saying. And well, it's an important day for Bitcoin. And the question again is which Bitcoin asteroid is dominant? You see here Bittesini, it's not doing anything, but hiding in this word salad here we see Bittner, and it is conjunct the Sun. So it is very much like Pizza Day, only a different asteroid conjunct the Sun. But this you know, it's as important as Pizza Day in a way. Bittesini was needed. That energy was signifying the first transaction, and Bittner is more like, you know, I love it when a plan comes together. Well, that means for the plan to come together, that means that a lot of countries will have to accept Bitcoin as a good alternative to fiat money. So this is a very clear sign, and well, what else can we say? Altira is not really relevant here. Atira is. It says it's well. It's about being well prepared. I kind of like that there. And Ontinu is going against the grain. I think that is very much how the international community of politicians, world leaders was seeing this move by Nayib Bukele as someone who is a problematic guy who is going against the grain. Maybe they were even feeling a gun pointed at them, I don't know. Salvo is I think this is a significator for El Salvador, and I think this is a significator for Nayib Bukele. Not that important. Make of it what you want. But anyway, it's here, and it's opposite Bitias. And you see here these two cousins are both about market manipulation, and that is, of course, every time there's a important thing, whether it's an exchange that is hacked or going broke, or whether it's something like this, there is always this sense of the influencing of the market. So it's amazing to me how often these asteroids are involved in stuff. I'm not always sure what they mean, I have to be honest about that, but you will find that they are very active asteroids at all these types of events. So keep an eye on them would be my advice. They're also opposite Jupiter, so there's definitely stuff going on. I could blah some more, but basically the story here is Nayib Bukele says Bitcoin is cool and Bittner is conjunct the Sun. And that says something about the fingerprint, the meaning, the associations connected with Bittner. A Bitcoin ETF approved by the American SEC is something that people have been speculating about for a long time now. And recently, to be exact, the 15th of June 2023, BlackRock, the biggest, the guys with the deepest pockets around the world, BlackRock, investors, they filed for a spot ETF for Bitcoin, And I just want to take a look at the role again of Bittner, Bitias and Bittesini. And this time I'm not saying that, yeah, this is a case of Bittner showing its fingerprint, because it's not strong enough to make that case. To put it very simple, we have Bittner here making a trine to a group of stuff here and a quintile to Pluto, and Bittesini is making a quintile to that group of stuff and a trine to Pluto, so that's like equal. But when we look at Bittner, we also see a very notable grand trine involving Nessus. And Nessus, as we have seen before, is very important in the adoption of Bitcoin, because it's about breaking into old systems. And as we have seen, Nessus can work for Bitcoin and it can work against Bitcoin. And that is exactly the narrative that we can now say that happened with the benefit of hindsight. I can now see that what you see here, this chart, exactly represents the narrative that came up after the news was announced, because it's a very funny narrative. It is people are afraid of certain people in the Bitcoin community or the crypto community, however you want to call it. Let's say enthusiastic Bitcoin owners were afraid that BlackRock might be too big for Bitcoin, and that they could attempt a 51% attack, which is basically saying something like, well, it's impossible, let's start there, but it would be a narrative of saying they are so big that they can control Bitcoin and somehow go past the security that that Satoshi Nakamoto has come up with. This is a nonsensical fear in my opinion, but still, it was the dominant narrative. Is BlackRock too big for Bitcoin? Will they eat Bitcoin for lunch or not? So how is that? How can we see that story in this chart? Well, Nessus, like I said, is the invader. So who is invading who? Is Bitcoin invading BlackRock, or is it the other way around? That is the question here. And you see also how all these lines converge to this little group of stuff. Here, here, here. It's really a nice symmetry here. So what's going on here? Well, we have Hackle, which is about hacking. In this case, that would be BlackRock hacking Bitcoin. Sekhmet is a very, very aggressive asteroid. It can be compared to Nessus in how nasty it can be, like hard and without mercy. Mercator is a businessman interested in money. So we have here the hackle and also chain. So it would be, what you see here is the hacking of the blockchain by a sly businessman who is ruthless. That's basically what this says. The hacking of a chain by a sly businessman who is ruthless. And that would be Larry Fink of BlackRock. This story, a lot of people have commented on these fears and have made clear that this is irrational. But anyway, it was the dominant narrative after the news came out, and that's what you see here. So this is more like a chart of a narrative, more than anything that really happened. And what is the role of Bittner? Well, it's that two-edged sword of we need them, but we also have to be careful that they don't take us over. But we have to conquer a lot of the old money institutions in order to make Bitcoin a success. That is the idea behind Bitcoin, a thought from the perspective of owners of Bitcoin. That's the whole story, basically. I think it's an interesting chart, and it shows how the astrology of this news is not so much about facts, but really about what people are, the stories that people are making up. Okay, that's enough for today. Enough charts, enough Bitcoin. Once again, here the storyline of Bitcoin. I think, well, personally, I hope that this will work out the way that the cards are predicting it here. I really like Bitcoin myself, and perhaps in the future I will do another video, not probably about other significators for shitcoins, for altcoins, for ETH, for Ripple, for Cardano. If there's interest, let me know, and I'll look at that some more. I also have some other plans for videos, all kinds of stuff. I think the next one will be about something completely different, about Catholic mystics, people like Meister Eckhart, Saint John of the Cross. I'm technically a Catholic, not because I believe anything it says in the Bible, but because of cultural reasons, so to speak. But I'm interested in Catholic mysticism. Meister Eckhart would be a great example. It's going to be heretical in the sense that with asteroids, if you work back in time, there is a certain limit that should be observed, and I think I may be crossing that limit. So in that sense, I will be doing some naughty things, but never mind that. That's just technical stuff. Well, see you in a few weeks. Bye bye.